All right, what's up, guys and gals? This is episode 2 of Women Can't Preach is a Lie. All right, so women can't preach the gospel is a lie. That's what I named this. First off, I want to say go back and watch the first one. There's going to be several more of these videos because this is such a massive topic in the American church. I don't know why it is, but for some reason it is. We discuss, and I'm going to remind y'all every single episode, what it means to preach and what is the gospel. We have completely just blown out of proportion what it means to preach. To be a preacher does not mean that you put on a 3-piece suit and you jump behind a pulpit inside of a church and you prepare this big 45-minute message and all. That is what an American preacher today is in our minds. But to preach simply means, by definition, to go out and tell about Jesus. That's what it means to go preach. You can preach in Walmart. You can preach right here on this phone and to all the nations, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. You do not have to be confined to a church or a pulpit to be a preacher. When we get that revelation, that opens up a whole new world, like the Little Mermaid says. That's what it means to preach. So, nowhere in the Bible does it ever say that a woman cannot preach. It doesn't say that. The scriptures that people are going to use, the ones from Paul, women need to be quiet in church. I don't permit a woman to teach. I'm going to tackle those in maybe the next episode. This one I'm giving an example of a woman who 100% was, she went and preached and people got saved. The very first one I gave, in the very first episode, Mary Magdalene was the very first preacher of the gospel. Ever was Mary Magdalene, and she was commanded by a man named Jesus. So that should be enough to just completely squash the whole thing that a woman can't preach. It's a lie. But here's another one. We're going to go to John 4, and this is about the woman at the well. Backstory real quick. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Jesus is at a well, and he's in Samaria. You may have heard of the Samaritan woman. Go read it. Go read John 4. It's an amazing passage. Jesus is sitting there. Him and this lady are talking, and he even kind of brings up her past. Like, he tells her, you're not married, and you've had 5 husbands, and now the guy you're shacking up with is not even your husband. Like, Jesus called her out for what she was doing. He didn't sugarcoat it. Now, let me tell you this. I don't want to hurt your feelings. He said, no, you're right. You're not married. You've had 5 husbands. You've been married and divorced 5 times, and you're shacking up with your 6th guy now. He told her that straight up. And when he did, that showed her that this dude is the Messiah. He told her things that no one else really knew. Anyway, long story short, verse 28 of that, this is right after Jesus said this and his disciples came up. John chapter 4, verse 28. So the woman left her water pot and went into the city and said to the men. The woman who has women parts and that makes her a woman left Jesus Christ, who is the most perfect person ever and whose opinion is the only one that matters, not yours, not mine. This lady left this man named Jesus and went to her town and she proclaimed, go back and watch episode 1, she preached to the men, come see a man who told me all the things I have done. This is not the Christ, is it? They went out of the city and were coming to him. If you scroll on down and start at 39, from the city, many of the Samaritans believed in him because of the word of the woman The men believed, the men got saved because the word of the woman who testified, he told me the things I've done. So when the Samaritans came to Jesus, they were asking him to stay with them. He stayed 2 more days. Many more believed because of his word. And they were saying to the woman, it's no longer because of what you said that we believe. For we have heard for ourselves, and we know this one indeed is the Savior of the world. Y'all, like literally, there's 2 episodes of 2 women. The very first preacher of the gospel that Jesus had risen again was Mary Magdalene. She was the preacher. The woman before her, the woman at the well, who also was an adulterous woman, obviously, married and divorced 5 times, shacking up with some homeboy at the house right now while she's out getting water, talking to another man. She went and preached to men. And because this woman did not look at Jesus and say, oh, Jesus, I'm a woman. You know that I have women parts. I'm really a woman. I know later on this guy named Paul is going to come and say that I'm supposed to be quiet and I'm not supposed to teach a man. I'm not supposed to talk to a man. I'm not supposed to lead a man. I'm not supposed to do any of this. I'm not going to go do anything and say to them, but hey, there's your disciples. Can they come to the town and they tell them what you told me? That is so stupid, y'all. So stupid. Again, all these men and even women now who are silencing the voices of these God, like called women to preach by God. You're silencing so many women. It is demonic. It is demonic, and it needs to be exposed. These 2 women, Mary Magdalene, when she went after Jesus commanded her to go tell my disciples, go tell. She went and preached. 2 men. 2 men. This lady right here went and left the Savior and went and preached to men. She saved many of her city. Had she listened to the Pharisees of those days, she would have never said a word. She would have shut her mouth and continued to feel all lowly and I can't do nothing. I'm an adulterous woman. I'm a woman. I'm a Samaritan woman. He's a Jewish. He's the Messiah. I can't even be talking to this guy. No. She gets up and goes and tells everybody. She preaches, and because of her obedience and because of her call that she felt, she left and she saved many, many people. This is enough. I don't even have to go tackle the scriptures that everybody takes out of context from Paul later on in 1 Timothy and all the one. A woman needs to be silent in church. I don't permit a woman to preach or teach or whatever. I'm going to tackle those possibly next one. They're so out of context, but there are going to be people that, context doesn't matter, whatever. Women Women most definitely can get up and go preach behind a pulpit. They can preach behind the cash register at Walmart. They can go stand up on the mountain and scream it from a megaphone. Women, if you are called to preach, don't listen to these demonic Pharisaical spirits that are running these men and making them shut your mouths. Don't. Get up and go tell the world. Episode 3 coming.